Ollie got a call. The voice on the other end sounded worried and in a hurry. Ollie, you gotta get out, man. You gotta get out right now. I said, what's going on? I'm sorry, who is Steve? I said, yeah, it's Steve. You gotta get out. They're coming for you right now. They're coming to arrest you, Ollie. I said, arrest me? What do you mean? I haven't, what? Why would they arrest me? They think you robbed a bank. They have cameras with showing you robbing the bank. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think it had to not be you, but it sure does look like you. And so they're coming to arrest you. And so you got to get out. The only way you're going to be able to prove it wasn't you, well, you're not going to be able to prove it wasn't you from jail. That's what I'm saying. So you got to go. I don't know how long you have, but it ain't long. I said, all right, Steve, thanks for the tip. Jeez, okay. I looked outside, and there were already a police car was pulling up to, come in the front door. So without doing anything else, Ollie went straight out into the hallway, and he had to think. He had to think fast. And then he remembered the trash chute. In that apartment building, instead of carrying your garbage all the way downstairs, there was a chute. You could just, there's an entrance on every floor. And you would just drop your garbage down the chute. And it had a slide that would take it all the way down to the basement. And there was a garbage room there. Well, I didn't like the thought of sending himself down the garbage chute. But he'd been down to the garbage room, and it was just a big dumpster down there. And so, that's what he did. Figured that'd be his way out. So he locked his door, grabbed a couple of supplies, and hopped in the garbage chute. And it was kind of gross. There's some liquid of some sort in a couple spots on the garbage chute. It wasn't a pleasant slide. He could imagine that if it was really clean, and they did a little bit of minor repairs here and there, get rid of some rusty spots, could be kind of fun. But given the circumstances, it was not. And he landed hard in the dumpster full of garbage. And he had to think. It's all right, but okay, it's Tuesday. It's about 8:30 a.m. All right, I think my best way out of the building, unnoticed, is in this garbage. Because the garbage trucks, the garbage service came Tuesday, usually around 10. So he's
Probably about 2 hours.
hour and a half, but yeah. And so he wiggled his way down in among the garbage bags. And it was gross. But we figured he was probably safe. Because they would come and they'd find him not home. They'd probably think that he'd gone out. They'd start looking at his usual, hangout spots. They probably wouldn't think to look in the garbage. And they didn't. So I sat there, buried in the garbage, thinking, robbing a bank? Why would they think I robbed a bank? How would someone make it look like I robbed a bank? Shh. Lie down. I think, well, there's only one thing for it. There's only one thing that's possible. It's got to be another octopus. Just a regular human crook wouldn't look anything like me. And you couldn't really make a puppet good enough. I don't think so anyway, or a robot. I think it's got to be another octopus.
That's wood? No.
And then I was thinking about it while he was down there. He had some time to wait and think, Elsa, no, just sit still. He thought about it, and he thought, I wonder how much this octopus even really looks like me. Because most people I know, I'm the only octopus they know. I bet another octopus that wouldn't look that much like me, or to another octopus, could still get mistaken for me, especially since we can camouflage so well. I bet that other octopus just had a couple of photos of me and did a few things to make its skin the way that I usually walk around, that kind of bluish color I favor. I've got a doppelganger out there sullying my name. And here I am buried in the garbage. That's all I was thinking about this and thinking about how he could track down another octopus. He heard a loud ka-chunk as the doors opened. And you could feel the garbage collector truck coming in. It kind of has like a big fork it grabs the dumpster with and lifts it up and pulls it out of the building. And I thought, oh, right. This part isn't going to be any fun. As the fork lifts it up and tilted him up over and tipped the whole dumpster up into the truck. It hurt. Well, he got squished. A beer bottle landed on his head. But
What's gonna happen?
I'll have to find out. But he was okay. A little bruised, maybe. But now he was on the move. He was out of his apartment building. He made his way to the side of the truck, which wasn't tightly closed. It was like you could see. And then I looked, and he could see that there was a cop car posted up outside of his apartment building, but they weren't watching the garbage truck. So he pulled off, and he thought, all right, I've got myself in a bit of a pickle here. I'm on the run from the law. Not my usual position, not a very comfortable position. And I don't actually know where this garbage truck goes next. Well, it wouldn't go to the landfill until it was full. It probably does a whole route, a whole bunch of apartment buildings.
And trash.
So Ollie rode, and he thought, he's kind of keeping an eye on the road so he could tell where he was. And they were just kind of going around other apartment buildings nearby. Other apartment buildings and other businesses. So that wasn't that big of a deal. And then at one of the stops, it was like behind this grocery store that he knew. And there wasn't anybody else out there. And he knew there weren't any cameras because he'd worked a case for that grocery store where they'd gotten robbed and there weren't any cameras back there. So he squeezed himself out the little hole that he'd been looking through and quietly scuttled into a corner. So he wasn't far from his usual base of operations, but he was hidden. No longer in a garbage truck, which was nice. It smelled a lot better. I mean, it smelled like an alley, but it didn't smell like the inside of a garbage truck. And Ollie realized his best bet, his easiest way to operate freely, would be to wait till nightfall. So he tucked himself up under the roof of the building and waited. It was a long wait. But he began to think, when I first came onto land, what did I need? Because at this point, Ollie had gotten very good at operating as a sea creature on land. But at first, he didn't have all those tricks yet. He thought, one thing I remember was it took me a while to learn to eat human food. So if this octopus is new to being on the land, and Ollie remembered that he had to get the kind of food that he was used to at first. And that meant a lot of small fish. So he started making some calls. It was winter time when this happened, so even though it was dark, some of the stores were still open. So he called around to the pet stores. Because he thought if I was wanting to get a bunch of small fish, I would get feeder goldfish from the pet store. I called and asked if they had any unusual customers coming in for feeder goldfish or other feeder fish. The first two ones he called said nah. Then he called the one up, the pet, whatever, mass market pet store up on York Road, and they said, yeah, well, I mean, mostly not. Mostly been, but there's this, for about the past week, there's been this, well, octopus coming in. And the octopus, I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl octopus, if I'm being honest with you. They pay in cash. And yeah, they just get like 2 big bags of feeder goldfish. We've had to make a couple of additional orders because, I mean, I assume that the octopus is eating them, right? I said, I bet you're right. Is there anything else you can tell me about them? Well, I know it's kind of annoying. I mean, they're nice enough, the octopus, but they come in and they're wet, and so we just have to like mop up after. I said, how often are they coming in? It's been twice a week. Yeah, for like 2 weeks now. I said, okay, so 2 weeks you're saying they've been coming in twice a week? I said, yeah. And when were they were there? When were they there most recently? Yesterday. I was working. They came yesterday. And they paid cash. He said, "Yeah, yes. We don't have like we don't even have a name really. Yeah, that's what's, yeah." I said, all right, thank you. That gave Ollie a lot of information actually, because that meant that the octopus was probably based in there. They're probably living somewhere up there, and living by somewhere close to that pet shop. That they were still wet. That means this octopus was hanging out in the water most of the time, which Ollie remembered he did when he first came on land. And probably just going out into the air for, to do these robberies and to get supplies. I thought, all right, where near there could an octopus live? Be close enough to that pet store. Still be wet when they got there. I waited a little bit longer and then took an Uber up to that area. He looked around. And he saw kind of a ratty apartment building. He thought, if I was a criminal masquerading as somebody and I was an octopus, that's where I'd go. And so he went there. The front desk was pretty bare bones, but they did have an attendant. And I wasn't quite sure what he would do. And then he remembered that the whole problem that he's having is stemming because people are mistaking this octopus for him. So I thought, what if I try and use this to my advantage? So he went up to the person at the desk. Hey, how's it going? And the guy turned around and said, oh, hey, it's you. Yeah, it's all right. How are you? It's good, except I fell and I dropped my key into the sewer. Couldn't you just go get it? I mean, I suppose I could have squeezed down there, but it was all gross down there. I mean, I like to stay pretty clean, I said, yeah, no, that makes sense. So you need a new key? Said, yeah. All right, well, it's going to be a $5 charge for a new key, but I do have an extra key for your room. So, okay, cool. Can you just, put it on my invoice for this month? I said, yeah, sure. Well, I'll just take it out of your security deposit. I said, okay, perfect. Thank you. Really appreciate that. That'll work. All right, here you go. New key, and yeah, you might get a keychain or something, man. I said, sure, cool, thank you. I took the key, and he pulled it off. The person totally thought that he was the other octopus. And the key said, apartment 4B. Ollie looked around. What he didn't know was what floor that was on, but his guess was it was 4B. Probably the ground floor. So I went to kind of the end, like the hallway, and he looked, and indeed, the numbers on that floor he could see were single-digit numbers. So he walked one way, and the guard said, you all right? You lost? I said, no. All right, well, Your apartment's over there. And he pointed the other direction. Oh, I know. I was just going to kind of walk around, clear my head a little bit before I went home. Okay, yeah, I guess whatever you need. Yeah. So Ollie, made a show of kind of like walking a loop of the apartment building, just to kind of keep his story straight, And he went around, and there was the apartment, 4B. It was on the ground floor. He tried to listen and see if anybody was home, but he didn't hear anything. So he slipped the key in the door, turned it, and slipped in as quietly as he could. Inside, it was pretty bare. There was not much, and the lights were all off. Didn't necessarily mean no one was home, though. So Ollie was very careful and very sneaky. He looked around, and he saw, just like he used to do, the bathtub was just full of water. And there was a big thing of salt next to it to keep it salty enough. And they had plugged up the bathtub with some wax. Otherwise, it drained slowly. And then, so he searched the rest of the apartment, and nobody was home. So he turned on the lights. And there he saw a bunch of bags of money. And I thought, all right, I've got almost everything I need here. I just got to find a way to prove that it's not me. How could I prove to them that this isn't not just like a second apartment that I'm doing crimes from? And that's when I realized he had to get a policeman there at the same time as the other octopus. That's when he remembered Steve. Steve, they'd given the tip to before, was a policeman. He was a beat cop. He just worked with Ollie a number of times and really trusted Ollie. So he called Steve up. He said, Steve, it's Ollie. I found the other octopus. I found this person masquerading as me. Oh, it's a whole other octopus. I guess that makes sense. What do you need me to do? I said, I guess I'm in their apartment. Can you come here and we'll both just wait for them to come home? And then you can arrest them? Steve said, yeah, but how will we know that it's them? How would I prove that it's them? Elsa said, still. I said, I don't know. I'm going to think about that when you get here. I'll try to think while we wait. So Steve came to the apartment. And I thought. And as he was thinking, Steve had gotten in there. They were just waiting quietly, and all I was thinking. As he hadn't come up with a solution yet, the door opened up. And they had turned the lights back off. And the door opened up. And it was still dark, but the other octopus saw them immediately. And he dove at Ollie. Said, "You, what are you doing here?" Ran at Ollie and tackled him. And there was an octopus fight, and it was really weird looking for Steve. Steve ran and turned on the lights. He got his taser gun out, but he wasn't sure even what he could do, and he figured even if he tased the right one, that they probably all conduct electricity, and he didn't know what to do. He said so. He said, "I don't know what to do, Ollie." I said, "Don't worry about it. I got it, I think." After a few minutes, one of the octopuses went flying across the room, kicked by the other. "Stop it, Elsa." The other octopus hit the wall hard and was unconscious. I said, "Ollie?" I said, "Yep, it's me." "How do I know it's you?" Ask me something that only I would know." What's my wife's name?" I said, "Trick question. You're gay, you have a husband. His name's Bill." So he said, "All right, I believe you, it's you. So how are we going to prove that it isn't you?" I said, "Easy." "Why is it easy?" "Because that, my friend, is a girl octopus. And there's plenty of photos of me that our octopus expert can verify that I am indeed a male octopus. And this octopus is a girl octopus. And I bet if we look at that footage carefully enough, we'll be able to tell even on the video." And so they got an octopus expert in, and they watched the video, and they examined both Ollie and this imposter. And indeed, they set Ollie free and arrested as they were, taking the other octopus away. I said, "So what's your deal?" I said, "Well, I heard about your exploits and thought I'm at least as clever as him. So I thought I could come here and frame you for a big robbery and get away scot-free, but I got greedy. I sure just skipped town as soon as I finished the first one, but I thought I could get one more. My name's Cassandra." I said, "Well, I'm Ollie. It's always nice to meet another octopus, Cassandra, but not under these circumstances." I said, "Well, can't blame a girl for trying." And that was the story of the duplicate Ollie.